Good afternoon and welcome to Pittsburgh City Council's public hearing Tuesday, July 12th, 2022, relative to Bill 2022-0411. So will the clerk please read the title of the bill?
Bill 411, resolution providing for the designation as a historic structure under Title 11 of the Code of Ordinances, the certain site known as the Troy Hill Firehouse, located at 1800 Lay Street in Troy Hill in the 24th Ward.
All right, for the record, I'm the only council member here right now. If others join, I will introduce them periodically as they join. Our first order of business is will be an introduction and comments by Sarah Quinn from the Pittsburgh City Planning's Department. Sarah?
Hi. My name's Sarah Quinn. I'm the preservation planner for the city of Pittsburgh. And I would just like to thank council for scheduling this right before recess. I know y'all are very busy, so thank you. Big shout out for that. But the Troy Hill Firehouse was nominated for historic status way back in January of 2022, and it's located at 1800 Lay Street. It was constructed in 1901 and is a very familiar visual landmark in the neighborhood of Troy Hill. The firehouse is a two-story brick structure, which was formerly a firehouse and is now used for civil service. It was constructed in the Beaux-Arts style with Romanesque influences. It is a fine example of civic Beaux-Arts style architecture done in a vernacular, localized interpretation. Decorative brickwork is located in the central column of the facade of the elevation, acting as a squared, almost Italianesque tower suggestive of a bell tower. In 1890, the Allegheny City Hopkins map is the first to label the brick building at the corner of Forest and Branch Streets, now known as Froman and Lay Streets, as engine house number 11. Likewise, this first map shows evidence that fire of the previous house, the building occupied the same footprint as the current. It was in 1789 that a portion of the reserve tract directly opposite the fledgling city of Pittsburgh was divided into orderly lots, with the rest of it comprising the new reserve township. This settlement was called Allegheny Town. One of the earliest immigrants to the Allegheny was Henry Rickenbach Sr., who originated from the Basel section of Switzerland. He came to Allegheny Town in 1808 after purchasing a small piece of property near the present location of the 16th Street Bridge. Rickenbach would prove to be an important shaper this side of the Allegheny River's makeup, as several years later he traveled home to his native Switzerland and entreated several family members to join him. They included Nicholas Vogelty Sr. In 1823, Rickenbach and Vogelty family purchased a substantial piece of property from the state of James O'Hara, and this area became the center of the business enterprise for families to come. It was not long before German-speaking immigrants began to flock to the area, as the industry, language, culture, and religion already established by Rickenbach and Vogelty families made them feel more at ease in a strange new land. They came primarily from Alsace-Lorraine, Hesse-Darmstadt, Bavaria, Württemberg, and Switzerland. The eastern section of Allegheny Town shortly became known as Deutschtown, and the area right below Troy Hill, now called Spring Hill, was first nicknamed Swiss Hole. Initially, it was slow to see growth, with only a few cemeteries and a handful of shops and houses. The railroads and yards of the Heinz plant at the base of the hill provided some impetus for settlement, as did recurring flooding on the bottomlands of the Allegheny. However, within a decade or so, the arrival of Rickenbach's and Vogelty's, the commercial manufacturing development along the river, was being enhanced by the construction of the Pennsylvania Canal System. By 1900, the neighborhood had its own trolley run, inclined plane, and it reached its peak population of 10,000 inhabitants. The influence of its primarily German and Eastern European occupants is now readily visible in the street names, churches, and rows of tidy late 19th century row homes that encompass popular styles of the period, primarily Second Empire, Romanesque, and Queen Anne Victorian. The Historic Review Commission provided a positive recommendation to City Council for the historic designation of this property. They felt that the property met several criteria for significance. The first criteria was exemplification of an architectural type, style, or design. This building has the characteristic elements of Beaux-Arts exemplified in the structure, including its use of decorative terracotta elements, notably around windows and cornice bands, constant theme of arched fenestration and doorways, the use of localized white blonde brick, common to Pittsburgh and particularly the north side, and the square central tower, which exhibits the influence of Italianate. They felt this property was also significant as the identification is the work of an architect, designer, engineer. Joseph Stilberg was once a prolific architect in Pittsburgh, having designed both major commissions such as the Exposition buildings, as well as many minor commissions, particularly in his home of the North Side, with a notable extant example being the Eberhardt and Ober brewery in addition to the resource. Having been born in Germany, his work exhibits fine attention to nature-derived detail. He was well known both for the quality of his craft and well for being the mentor to another notable Pittsburgh architect, Frederick Osterling, as one of only a handful of Stilberg's works to retain integrity and to remain extant. This resource is significant for its association with him. And of note, they say that he designed the Penn Brewery building as well as several other buildings that are still present. The Spring Hill School in Reserve Township, the St. Anthony of Padua Shrine, which is just north of Troy Hill Firehouse, and was also designed the administration building of what is now Seton Hill University. The Historic Review Commission felt this property was significant as its representation of a cultural or related theme expressed through distinctive areas. With its location to the central intersection of other remote neighborhood, it is rare to see if a photo or parade gathering in Troy Hill does not feature this resource. It was a key part of the neighborhood settlement and an important factor in its identity. In addition, it joins a company of other buildings, other fire stations within the city that are listed as historic. The one closest to us would be the one down on Boulevard of the Allies. Right now, that's listed. There's also one, I believe, at 1310 Arch Street on the north side. And then we also had the fire station in Shady Side on 700 Filbert Street, listed just this year. Finally, and probably most importantly, this resource is significant because it embodies the civic side of Troy Hill, and its location is at the heart of the neighborhood, has allowed to serve as a central gathering space, an important community institution into all of years of service. It's a point of pride for the neighborhood and the small commercial core, and Lee and Lowry would not be the same without its sturdy edifice. And if you will look at the staff report I provided to council, there are photographs of the property over the years, and there is also a postcard that used to be sold in Troy Hill. So it's a great building. I certainly recommend it as being historic to council. So that is what I have for you.
All right, great. Well, thank you, Sarah. We'll now move to testimony from registered speakers. Each speaker, please give your name and address for the public record. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address council. And our first speaker is Bernadette Mosey. Okay. Our second speaker is Yvonne F. Brown. Oh, here. Okay. So no registered speakers, so I will make comment. So this project is, so no members, but this property is involved in an RFP with the URA, where they're figuring out, or I'm sorry, there's an agreement that going to be entered into, and so they're going to revitalize this space and use it again as like a center of the community. And so, in light of that, and how much this building means, there was an effort to get this designated as a historic structure. So I appreciate all the work that you've done and others that have worked on this. Who all worked on this project? Who made the initial submission? Was that Falcone?
Preservation Pittsburgh worked on the
Matthew
historic
Falcone?
nomination, and it was submitted by Matthew Falcone.
Okay.
And I know it's been going on it's been sort of floating out there like pre-COVID, perhaps even that long ago.
Okay.
Discussions about it, because your neighborhood loves this building.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank Matthew Falcone,
Yeah.
a North Sider as well,
Yeah, absolutely.
and your work, and also
Sure.
the commission's work as well. So, having exhausted the business of this public hearing, this meeting is adjourned.